good Tuesday morning. Happy Halloween. It is Boomer Esiason. And Greg, yes. Yeah, we saw it. Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti on this NFL trade deadline Tuesday. We already saw Leonard Williams go yesterday with the Giants. Will we see more of that from the Giants today? It doesn't sound like Saquon Barkley's going to go, but who knows? I guess anything is possible. Max Scherzer was at it again last night. Didn't pitch poorly, but left with an injury, which is basically the same thing as him not getting it done by pitching poorly. And, of course, there's going to be more Zach Wilson talk as we continue on because I have people sending me film of Zach Wilson making like 2 good throws and saying to me, look, I'm telling you, he's coming along. He's coming along. Man, I wish I had the faith of the Jets fan right now. It's impressive. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jay. What you should do is send back the film of him throwing it at the feet of Breece Hall.
I thought about
fourth down. You can say, hey, how about this one? How about taking a sack on fourth down and putting the Giants in an opportunity and a position to win the football game. But think about guys that are getting traded. So James Harden finally gets traded out of Philadelphia to the Clippers as well. So that saga is finally over. Leonard Williams, a really good, solid player. I don't know what else to tell you. He was a good player for the Jets, and he has been a good player for the Giants. As a matter of fact, in watching the tape again yesterday, the interior of the Jets' offensive line, decimated by injuries, by the way, was just completely dominated by both Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. And we all saw Dexter Lawrence getting held just almost on every play this past Sunday, and I can understand why. I mean, he's a freaking mountain of a man who's got a motor that doesn't stop, and he is a great football player. And now he loses like his right-hand man, if you will. And I think Leonard Williams took him under his wing, taught him how to be a professional football player. And now Leonard goes out to Seattle, and he has a chance to go to the playoffs. And he's going to be playing for a great coach in Pete Carroll. So I think this is the right thing for the Giants to do. I think the Giants, obviously are probably answering a lot of phone calls. And I'm sure there are a few other players on their roster that teams are going to be looking for because there's a desperate need for a couple of positions out there right now for teams that are trying to make a playoff push. Number one is offensive line. As Rob Saleh pointed out yesterday, their offensive line is decimated. And, we'll get into a couple of things that's going on over at MetLife Stadium, by the way. And then the other thing is cornerback. Cornerback is a big position of need for teams like the Buffalo Bills. They need a starting cornerback. So does Adoree Jackson fit, what they need up there? And then last night, if you watch the game, Davante Adams, 1 catch, overthrown twice on deep balls by Jimmy Garoppolo. He is unhappy.
Yeah, and he's been unhappy for a while. This has been brewing for several weeks, and I think last night really was the pinnacle of it as he slams his helmet down on the sidelines. He's been vocal about how upset he is. He went there to play with his best friend, Derek Carr. They traded him away. They ended up bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not getting his numbers, Davante Adams. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was gone and Josh McDaniels in the midst of another head coaching disaster that he has on his hands. But, what I really think what's going on with Saquon Barkley and the Giants is that if Joe Shane and Brian Daboll had their way, they would probably trade Saquon Barkley. But I think that John Mara does not want to trade Saquon Barkley. And the reason why I bring this up is because I think John Mara has had a major influence. I think we know this, but it's not talked about as much on some of the personnel decisions. Hanging on to Eli Manning for too long, wanting to give him another opportunity, drafting Saquon Barkley, number 2 overall, to give it to Eli Manning, to give him one more opportunity, keeping Daniel Jones around for last year, saying we've done everything to screw this kid up. We want to give him another chance.
He's right on that part.
He was, but I do think that a new regime coming in probably didn't want to inherit Daniel Jones. Brian Daboll did a great job with him last year. And I think from a football standpoint, the smart thing to do would be to trade Saquon Barkley. He is useless on a team like this that is going nowhere now at 2-6 on essentially an aspiring contract. And I understand you could tag him again, but there's a business side of this that an owner looks at. And there's also losing the locker room aspect that Brian Daboll would probably have to think about, too. It's one thing to trade Leonard Williams, who's been there and been a good player. It's another thing to trade about the only good asset that you have on your offense. And also, there's a lot of Giants fans that, wear the Saquon Barkley jersey, like Saquon Barkley, show up to see him break a 60-yard run. If that's gone, I mean, essentially, that's the white flag going up on the season.
Well, I will say, in regards to Saquon, is that if they're going to use him as much as they did against the Jets, and he's going to take that many hits, he ain't going to make it through the season.
Sure.
So what good is that going to do you?
Nothing.
I mean, that's the way I would look at it. I know he's a great player. If you could get some legitimate draft assets back for him, I think you'd really have to seriously consider it.
Well, don't you think that they would? I mean, look at the return for Leonard Williams. And I understand that, the
plus they kept the money.
Right, exactly.
The Giants are paying the money.
Which helps out the return.
So you're buying draft picks is basically what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a couple of teams right off the top of my head that we have talked about that could desperately use a guy like this. One is the Baltimore Ravens, the other is the Buffalo Bills. And the Baltimore Ravens, I think, are going to get somebody. And if they end up securing Derrick Henry somehow, which I think is a perfect fit over there, I mean, that really gets them back into the conversation about one of the best teams in the AFC with the way that they have played up until this point. But and the other part of this is, I know Saquon says he doesn't want to leave, and he has done a great job, even with his contract situation, of not making a lot of waves, and he's really handled New York well. But why in the hell would you want to continue down this road? I mean, really?
Right now the Buffalo Bills have four picks in the top 100 going into the 2024 draft now. So, that is something that would be, I think, pretty attractive for the Giants. I'm trying to look at other teams that would make sense that actually, but most of the good teams don't have the draft capital.
Yeah, it's generally how it works, right?
Right, exactly. But the teams, what are the Minnesota Vikings going to do, right? So their draft capital is ranked 22nd out of 32. So they need draft picks, for next year. You would think that they have a number of guys, and with Kirk Cousins being out. And the question is, does Minnesota make a trade for Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I've heard Jameis Winston as well. I would. I really would with the way that.
What is Tennessee doing?
Yeah, I know, but I think Tennessee feels like they're going to be selling everybody. But especially now, with the emergence of the way that Will Levis played at least in one game, and Ryan Tannehill's probably brought you as far as he could bring you. I would. If I were the GM of the Vikings, I would go for it. I understand that it's a really tough thing to bring in a quarterback midseason like this, but you've won 3 straight games. You soundly beat the 49ers. You just whipped your in-division rival, biggest rival in their building. The defense is playing better than it has in years. And you've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and an offensive line that actually looks like it's playing okay. I would not waste this season for draft picks. I wouldn't, because the NFC to me right now, if that defense continues to play and you get solid quarterback play from somewhere, you have a shot to make some noise in the playoffs. But I think that GM got here thinking, all right, Kirk Cousins is going to go. We're going to rebuild. I'm going to put my fingerprints on this. So I wouldn't be surprised if 4-4 he ended up selling some players off, like Danielle Hunter and maybe some others.
I'll tell you, that would really be disappointing.
I know.
I'm a fan. If I'm a Giant fan, I'm looking at this like I was looking at the Rangers, 4 or 5 years ago when they sent out that letter.
Yeah.
And they sent out the letter and said, you know what, look, we haven't gotten it right. We've won pretty far with these guys. We're going to have to trade some of these guys. We know that this is going to hurt. We know this is going to sting, and we know that we're going through a rebuild. But at least they were honest with us. And I think most of us today look back at those days to where we are right now and realize that, we did the right thing. We're a very competent and very competitive team, and they're always going to look at something at the trade deadline. They did something historic last night. They won 5 games on the road. All out west, with culminating in a overtime win last night against Winnipeg. So when I look at where the team is today to where it was when they did all these trades and all the different coaches we've had here and the draft picks and the trades and the free agent signings, that's where the Giants are right now. The Giants have right now are at a point where what are we doing with this team? Where are we going with this team?
I think the difference is the success that they had last year. I mean, they were one game away from the NFC Championship game, and I know it felt like farther than that because the Eagles really beat them up bad in that game. I think that's sort of the difference, but here we are back again. I mean, you can't toss out a year like that. But if you look around last year, I mean, it is horrific. I mean, it is as bad of a franchise as there is in the NFL if you take out last year with the Giants, and they're on pace to do it again. Now, we have talked about how they got through a tough part of the schedule. Maybe somehow they can go into the bye week at 5-7. A miracle if they beat the Cowboys and win the rest of their games at 6-6. But Daniel Jones is coming back. I mean, maybe in the back of their minds are like, we can squeak in and do something special. For God's sakes, in 2007, we snuck into the playoffs and were able to go on the greatest run in postseason history. Maybe that's what they're thinking, but I think that's a silly way to think.
I know one thing. Watching the Raiders last night, Max Crosby is your number one guy that you got to worry about. After that, with the way that their defense has played and the way that Jimmy Garoppolo has looked, is it out of the realm of possibility that they win at the Raiders?
No, of course not. And this is what I was talking about with the schedule softening up, and we were joking about that. I mean, they had two tough games, the Jets and the Cowboys in there, and then three games that are winnable for them. At the Commanders, the Patriots at home on Black Friday. No, it's not the Black Friday game. That's
the Jets.
The Jets and the Jets and the Dolphins at the Black Friday game. So so you have the Raiders obviously out in L.A., then the Cowboys, which is probably a smash spot for them, then the Commanders, and then you have the Patriots at home. So 5-7 now with the loss of the Jets. Going into the bye.
What's that going to get?
Nothing.
The reality is they have to look at it in a realistic situation.
And they got the Eagles twice after that.
And plus, you're assuming that both the quarterback and the running back are going to make it through every game.
Yeah. So this is why you come back to selling. I mean, even if they had won and they had held on and beat the Jets, and then you said, okay, you still drop one to the Cowboys, and if you maybe win the rest, you go 6-6 into the bye, maybe you could make a case, but blowing that game really ended it.
You know what the real sickening thing is? If you're a Giant fan, the team, even though the defense has played a lot better the last few weeks, the team should probably be 4-4, given one or two plays against Buffalo and the Jets.
Yeah,
it's.
But maybe that is the rallying cry in the building over there, but why they're not going to sell.
I don't know. Well, they just sold off one of their best defensive linemen.
They did.
So.
More, meaning Saquon Barkley and other players,
But that's the thing that's just so infuriating. You're so close, and you're right there. I mean, you have both games, and you mess up at the end of the first half in the Bills. You can't score a touchdown at the end, and then all of a sudden, you're here at the Jet game, and you're right there at the end to win the game.
Really,
think about that. Think about the fact if we were sitting here and they were able to beat the Bills and the Jets on back-to-back weekends, which they were right there to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Saquon, I would want out after the whole contract negotiation. I would say enough of this. I appreciate the time. You guys believe it in me, but
he's not going to do that.
I kind of would want out. I know, but it seems like everybody else does in sports. So maybe he can get his opportunity.
Yeah, but that's
here.
not who he is. He's not going to do that.
But also from the Giants' standpoint, it's like why are we going to keep him, not get draft picks back, pay him another over $10 million in a franchise tag next year when we could draft a running back who's going to get paid nothing and be productive for us next year, and we could build the team in other ways. I mean,
especially with the fact that you have a quarterback you're paying $41 million to, so you got to look at other places where maybe you can save some money.
Well, exactly,
and refortify the roster in some other ways. What's going to be really interesting to me is that if they do end up with a top 5 pick, that's still not out of the realm of possibility here. What are they going to use that top 5 pick on? Again, there's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round. And I don't know, I would imagine that they'll have their choice of, I don't think they'll get, Drake May is either going first or second, Caleb Williams is either going first or second. So there's going to be, in my eyes, if the Bears are up there and the Cardinals are up there, the Cardinals will have the really weird situation with Kyler Murray, and the Bears know that they're going to go get another quarterback. So, two of the quarterbacks are going to go to either one of those franchises, or one of those franchises is going to be trading to somebody so somebody can get up there.
That's right. And I think that Kyler Murray is probably, I mean, you got a new regime out there now. I would be shocked if they continue with him. But the issue is, who the hell is going to take him? They probably have the crazy dead cap numbers if you cut him. I mean, is there a team out there that's actually going to be interested in trading for him?
Somebody will be.
Ugh. I guess somebody was interested in taking James Harden on, so somebody would be interested in Kyler Murray.
You know, the interesting thing is the Cardinals this week are starting Clayton Tune as their quarterback.
That sounds like a cartoon character.
Now, well, they're starting him as opposed to Joshua Dobbs, and Kyler Murray's been practicing. So as of right now, the Cardinals are saying that they're starting their rookie quarterback, Clayton Tune, as opposed to Kyler Murray. But Kyler Murray he looks like he will be available.
And the Cardinals are playing who this week? Like a knockout pool right now if Clayton Tune's going out there.
Browns.
Browns.
In Cleveland.
In Cleveland.
I picked those.
What's that?
I picked the Browns for the knockout.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
I mean, the Browns are just so shaky sometimes. And they got that good defense. Who the hell's playing quarterback? Is Deshaun Watson playing quarterback? Is it P.J. Walker?
P.J. Walker. As of right now, P.J. Walker.
All right. It's consideration. Clayton
Actually,
Tune's
they're better. The Browns have got such a mess on their hands with Deshaun Watson.
Well, I know, and it's all guaranteed money.
Oh, my God. It's
Can't do anything about it.
I mean, his on-the-field performance when he has been healthy has been abysmal.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the other part about it. I mean, when he doesn't play, it's not like they're missing out on much.
No, and P.J. Walker was a guy that was, I believe, with the Bears, and the Bears got rid of him because P.J. Walker sat there. I think this is the way I'm thinking. As a former quarterback who's been involved in a few quarterback controversies at the time, P.J. Walker was looking at, you're playing Justin Fields over me? Why? He didn't know the offense.
Yeah.
I know the offense. I should be playing. And the Bears got rid of him because he wasn't there to support Justin Fields. He was there to try to supplant Justin Fields.
Yeah, shiv spot.
Right, exactly. 100% shiv spot. And the kid basically goes to Cleveland, and now look at him.
Yeah, and Deshaun Watson is answering questions about whether or not he is wanting to play. I mean, he actually had to answer those questions. They're like, do you want to play? Do you care about playing? Are you interested in playing?
Yeah, and while he's got to shut down all the criticism that's coming his way.
Yeah. All right. Boomer and Gio on the Fan.